This week we're taking a look at Spider-Man for our character review. So every week we like to look at a character. Uh, we haven't had any kind of new cards to look at for a while, so we're still just kind of trudging through older characters, kind of placing them and ranking them, seeing how they do in the current setup of MCP. And we're looking at Spider-Man Peter Parker. So he was in the core set. He's a 5 stamina long mover that's 4 threat. He's got 3 defense across the board. He has a standard 5 die strike with a power builder. He has a range 4 impact webbing, which gives him 1 auto power and has a wild push on size 2, push short. Then he has a range 3 2 power spender. That's energy, and if the attack deals 1 or more damage after it's resolved, the target gains the stun special condition. So pretty good one there. You'll see this kind of common amongst some of the web warriors. It's Webline, so it's a 2 power cost superpower that pushes an enemy character within 4 toward the character short. He has a 3 power throw, so it's terrain or enemy character, size 2, within 3 throw short. And then he has Spider Sense, which is a pretty fun mechanic. It's whenever this character is defending against physical or energy, or making a dodge roll, he may reroll 2 of his defense or dodge dice. Of course, he has Wall Crawler, and I believe there are no changes on his injured side. So, yeah. What do we think about Spider-Man in the current 1.5 MCP setup? We'll start. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say this motherfucker.
Have you
This
had
guy.
Have you had issues with him?
I have played against Web Warriors enough to know that he's pretty solid in that list setup.
A
And
lot of
he,
people are really down on him, especially in Web Warriors. So
I disagree. I have seen him do things that make me want to put on a mask and terrorize the city.
I mean, I think that he has a lot that plays into, kind of what Web Warriors want to do. I know that some people, they really vouch for him and they say that he's actually not that bad. I think that the community is a little bit divided on how they view Spider-Man, kind of in Web Warriors and stuff like that. I think it's sometimes a little bit more negative than positive. But what
Is
about you,
there a
Brad?
four?
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Brad, go ahead.
Okay. This is the most MCP ass model in the game. He is exactly what you expect to get out of an MCP model. He has pretty standard stats. He's got mostly physical attacks with access to another one. He's got pushes. He's got throws. He's got rerolls. He just feels like the quintessential MCP model. And he's like the quintessential Marvel hero, so that fits. But
So you're saying he's real basic?
he is, but not necessarily in a bad way. Just he highlights the game. You could hand someone Peter Parker, they could play him, and then they know how MCP works.
He does touch on, other than conditions and stuff. I think that he has a rule for almost every mainstay ability in the game.
He still gives out stun.
Well, yeah, he does have a breath. Well, I mean, I guess in general, yeah,
Yeah.
he puts out a special condition. So yeah, I think
you get a little bit of everything,
yeah.
And he doesn't excel in anything in particular. He's just so incredibly average in not in strength necessarily, but just in what he can do. He can do a little bit of everything.
I'm going to disagree with you just slightly. I think he does very much excel at displacement. I think that's his key role, and I think that he's very good at it.
He's average.
I think he does really good.
He's so good. He's so good at displacing stuff. If he's on the table, your stuff will never be where you want it to be.
What about you, Brandon? What do you think about him?
I've got a couple issues with him. He is one. I've been doing research here. I don't want to be in wrong. He's one of 4 4-point models that does not have a defense roll above 3, and he's one of 2 models who has a health pool at 4 points that's 10. No one's less, so he has the least amount of health for a 4-point model. The only other model with the same amount is Loki, who Loki does a whole lot more to help himself stay alive than Spider-Man does.
Yeah, that's fair.
And
two rerolls is pretty good though.
yeah,
I was
and
gonna
I'm not
say,
saying it's not, but it's only if you get hit with Mystic, you're just boned.
What's statistically
His-
better, Brad? If you're getting hit with physical, is it reroll 2 defense dice or is it count blanks?
I don't know.
just put him on the spot.
I mean,
Off
Brad.
the
If there's
top of
anybody
my
that's
head,
gonna know, it's Brad. Brad's
He's
gonna
here
know.
for the math.
Yeah.
Right?
Here, I'll come back to me.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right.
we'll pause on that.
We'll loop back around.
Outside of those, like, I think the biggest problem I have with Spider-Man is I do think he's real squishy. It just feels like, especially now at the point in the game, and that's the whole point. We're reviewing characters where they stand now. I think Spider-Man has actually only kind of gotten worse. He doesn't hit hard at all. He doesn't have a lot. Not being able to re-roll on attack dice. You really want that wild push on impact webbing. 4 dice. I mean, you're playing a little bit of a lottery. He doesn't hit very hard. His strike being only range 2, kind of obnoxious for 5 dice, and not having a powerful spender. Like stun's cool and all, but you're relying on 6 dice to deal damage to get the stun. Not even an auto stun. He just feels really underwhelming. I, however, really like what he does. I just feel like he's not. Like, my thing has always been, he doesn't ever feel like a 4-point character because it seems like there's always someone who can do a little bit more. I don't like the 10 health primarily. If you gave me 6 and 6 and everything else, I think he would. I also think you would see him a lot more. I think giving him a little bit extra health, I think you would see him played a lot more. However, if you can play him very smart and just use him as a complete tech piece, and kind of what Fred was getting into, like, I mean, he can impact webbing. If he can get his impact webbing off twice, and he can push 2 characters, and then he gets the webline a character for 2 power. And he doesn't even have to gain half power before that if he can impact webbing. If he hits on that wild push twice, again, kind of rough at 4 dice, but if he can hit that twice, he's got the 2 power webline, and now he's displaced 3 characters.
I mean, if he lives the dream, he can displace a lot of characters off points, especially if he has the last activation.
Yeah, and I mean, he has an option to displace up to 4 characters in 1 turn for 5 total power. And in reality, he only really needs to have 3 of that before he activates.
if I may.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You go ahead.
No, you're good. I was going to capitalize on the big thing I really like on this character that I always forget is that his throw can throw a character.
Yep.
That's really, really good. That's something you don't see as much anymore, especially on size 2 models. And that's really, really strong. And I think that gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah, if I may, the Webline, it is a character may be pushed by this only once per turn. So he could, in theory, target more than 1 character with Webline if he has the power for it.
Yeah.
That is true, yeah. It's not this can only be used once per turn, it's just a character, yeah. Now, I tell you what the thing is, like, so you see that on Spider-Man's card, he's got, like, a lot of size 2 stuff, right? He's got a size 2 character throw, and he's got a size 2 push on his impact webbing. Having personally played Dormammu extensively, who is the largest character in the game, like, nothing displaces him, right? Except for shit like Enchantress's bow, which if she comes within range of me, like, I'm probably alright with it, because I usually have something that can mess her up. But this right here, Webline, on him, on Gwen, it's not called Webline, it's called something else on Omega Red. Oh, it's slipping my mind. But he has the same same kind of rule set, right? Push an enemy character within 4.
Snare.
Ensnare, yeah, except his is medium. I think Venom's is
Yeah.
also medium. So
It is.
yeah, those 4 characters, being able to hit something at range 4 and displace them with no kind of roll and no size restriction is so massive. It's just
Yeah.
I can't describe how huge an ability like that is, especially in the current state of the game, where like a lot of
Omega
things.
Reds and Snares are like literally the reason like I play him the most. Like it
Oh, it's
always
so good. It's so good.
yeah. And every time I've done it, like all people are always messed up by it. It's like, oh my god, you can pull my Hulk, you can pull, Juggernaut, Dormammu, like it's like yeah, and if you get up to me, I can just pull you right past me. Like I can just get you a medium away from me, and now you have to spend your whole next activation, to get back into the fight or whatever.
I looking at Spider-Man. I think that's actually a really really good point that you brought up, Brandon. It's like his stamina pool is pretty bad, like especially for a 4 threat character. So if he had like one higher point of stamina, even on his healthy side, like if he was just 11, if he was 6'5", I think it would feel a lot better. And if he had
6 is really average on 4-point characters. Like I said, I went through all of them. Like the only other one that's 5'5" is Loki, who has 5 different like defensive abilities just like built on top of him,
yeah, he's got
and
some good
hits
ones.
harder and got a lot going on.
I
gotta
could.
disagree.
I have an
here. I've
answer
gotta
for your
disagree.
question now, Jared.
Oh, okay. We'll get to you in a second, Fred. What do you got for me, Red?
Counting blanks on 3 dice. I just did 3 dice. Is slightly better, but it's real close.
Okay.
So it's kind of effectively the same.
He's got a slightly
It's real close.
better defensive ability, and he also has the ability to just completely get out of range of an attack. So that's, I don't know. Loki is, I think, all in all, probably, yeah, to your point, more defensible.
Okay, so I think that if you are playing a game with Spider-Man and Spider-Man is getting stuck in, like he's in the fight, that's an improper play on the Spider-Man. I think that Spider-Man wants to play the edge of the fight as much as possible. He wants to stay away from combat, and he wants to bother people because he has the range to be able to bother people.
Yeah, I think that's
Or
completely
the
fair.
big-
I could care less about his attacks. The only attack I really care about is impact webbing. And to be quite honest with you, that's probably what you're doing the majority of the time, is staying on the outskirts, impact webbing people, and then moving to pull. Like turn 1, you can play on like a D shape or something like that. Long move, impact, or pretty much any shape, but you can long move, impact webbing, immediately webline and yank somebody off. Like impact webbing, webline is online every single round. Now, is that the kind of value that you want out of your 4 threat? Maybe not. I think that the 4 threat does feel a little bit bad for that.
Because if that's your game plan, you can get Shuri at 3 points, who just does it better, right?
Well, no, not necessarily, because now she got hit with the size restriction limit, which is size 3. So being able to displace a Dormammu or something, or a Hulk or something every turn off a point, I think is still really strong. But all right, yeah. So kind of a little bit mixed feelings about Spider-Man, but we'll kind of go on to the rankings. So S through F is what we're currently looking at. So we'll start with you, Fred. Where would you kind of rank Spider-Man in the current in the current landscape of the game? And I guess any kind of last thoughts that you want to give on him before you rank him?
I want to put him in the B tier. I mean, what we've discussed so far is like I think that he has a place in faction, and maybe a couple like dabbing into a couple other things, but mostly he's gonna stay in either Web Warriors or Defenders. Although I have a plan for an Avengers list that uses him, but that's for the future. I also think that you guys were talking about giving him stamina to maybe make him feel better as a 4 as a 4 threat model. I think that if they made him a 3 threat model and reduced his stamina, that might be a different solution. Make him feel a little bit better.
Honestly, I think
if he was
you
just
change
3
it
threat,
from 2 dice to 1 dice, and you make him 3, and you don't change anything else. He's a 3-point character. I'm not sure you have to change anything. You can make him a 3-point character.
I think if he just stayed at 5 stam and he went down to 3, I think that's still okay. Like, he does. I mean, I think a lot of the value for the 4 threat is coming out of Spider Sense, because Gwen has a lot of the same stuff, right? It's just Gwen is actually a little bit more offensive, I think, than Peter is, but they have a lot of the same kit, and she's 3. She just doesn't have Spider Sense. So really, I think that extra threat is like, how much value do you put in this right here? But
Yeah,
all right,
that's kind of what I was getting at. So if you take that down to 1 die instead of 2, and you make him 3, I think he's perfectly fine at 3, and I still don't know how great he is at 3.
oh, I think he's amazing at 3. I think if you make him 3,
he's incredible
he's
at 3.
incredible. Yeah. So you're landed on a.
It kind of busts Web Warriors if he's a 3-point model.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so you're landed on a B, right, Fred?
Yep, I'm saying a B.
All right. Well, then let's move to you, Brandon, since you're just kind of talking about him. Where would you put him on your scale?
So when I do this, I always like to look at a couple main things. Are you ever bringing him out of affiliation? I don't think you are.
No.
I'm really excited to hear Fred's idea in Avengers. I think you can do anything with Avengers and make it really cool. So I think I'm ready. I'm excited to hear that. However, I think if you're building a list, if you're going through affiliations, I don't think you ever even consider him for most of the time out of affiliation. So that's going to drop him a couple grades for me. However, then you go to affiliations. I'm not sure how often he sees the table if you put him on a list in your Web Warriors list. I'm not sure. Like, because you're playing Miles, you're going to play Gwen, you've got Venom. I don't know how often you're going to want another 4-point character. And then at that point, you can take an unaffiliated 4-point character, and you're probably going to have better options.
I mean, I think that you take him if you see like the opponent has a lot of like thick characters in their roster, or if you're like at definitely like high threat value, right? And you want to double down on the displacement with like him, Venom, and Gwen.
So at that point, you also have to then decide that you want him over Amazing Spider-Man.
I think if you're, I think if you're doubling down on the, like, I think it's, what situation and what the crisis calls for. I think at that point, I think you definitely have both in a roster, but.
Yeah, I think you can have both in roster. I'm just not sure how often he makes the list. I am showcasing a defenders list, and I actually kind of build it kind of around him where you would take him more often. However, again, and defenders has a much bigger roster than it was, so there are a lot of options, and it is kind of hard to fit him in a lot of the times. So he's not an auto occlude. I think ever. I think you kind of have to convince yourself to play him more than actually feel good about playing him, especially now with Moon Knight. Was Miss Marvel a Web Warrior? I have no idea.
I don't
honestly.
think so. I think she's just.
Yeah.
I know she's in. I think she's in Human Avengers. Maybe
Yeah.
A-Force. I don't remember.
So you get Moon Knight. So now they have like Moon Knight, and you have Black Cat, and you have original Daredevil, which I'm not sure how much better he is than original Daredevil. I do think he probably is better than original Daredevil. Maybe, I don't know. That's another conversation for another day. Not for this moment. I think it's just kind of hard if you're looking at affiliated characters to bring him. All things said, I want to go with the C-. I think he's I kind of, as Brad mentioned, he just feels real basic, and the way the game's gone with some of the updates, with a lot of the new characters, especially with all the mystic attacks now, taking away his rerolls, and I think I'm not sure he survives hardly anything. I think he's just going to be real squishy against mystic attacks. The displacement's really good. I think the control aspect is relevant, but again, at 4 threat value, having a character who's just going to hang around the edge of the border is kind of rough.
All right, so C minus. We'll kind of move over to you, Brad. What do you think?
Very middle of the road, which is a C. I'm just gonna call him a C.
All right. Well, like I like him. I think he actually kind of gets a little bit of extra points for me, kind of to what Brad said, that he is like just the perfect like teacher character in the game. Like everything is real simple to understand what he does. He's a great piece to kind of teach people, and I think that I think that has a place in like the current like landscape of the game, especially for like newer players if you're wanting to start with meta. I think that he's just absolutely perfect for that, just to kind of showcase on some of your kind of initial teaching games. But I think that he's niche in Web Warriors. I mean, I think that he is very good. I think that he plays into exactly what they want to do. I think in some ways he's a little bit better than ASM at certain things, and then in other things I think ASM is a little bit better. Spider-Man definitely brings the control element, so I think you're probably never taking him out of affiliation ever. Which there's going to be a lot of characters that are like that, right? Like they really shine in their affiliation, but you're never really taking them out.
Yeah,
I
that's not necessarily that for me. I always mention that, and I want to clarify that mainly for me eliminates them from like the A plus to S tier.
I think it just
Uh,
eliminates them out of S.
yeah,
Like I think for me that it keeps them out of like that top like god tier of
yeah.
characters. But um, I think that he is actually really. I think that he is really good in Web Warriors. I really like him there. I do think that in a lot of instances, I think you reach for Venom over him if you're going for a 4 threat. But if you're playing like high threat, like if you because Web Warriors wants to win really fast in the scenario. I think if you play like Scoundrels and you have 4 characters at 14, so you have another 6 threat that you can deal with, and 3 of your characters, well, even Miles, like he has a pretty consistent, if he web swings, a pretty consistent throw on his basic attack. So you have throws, and then you have 3 unlimited size, pretty much guaranteed displaces every single round on something like Scoundrels. I think I don't know. I think they can get really gross. And I think he actually has a place in defenders now that they've kind of gotten rid of how portals operates in the early game. I think it kind of shifts them away just from a send everything in the middle of the board, nuke you kind of mindset. I think that
I'm
he
ready
actually.
for you to hear my defenders list. Actually, super
I'll
excited
I'll
for
be
it.
excited to hear it. Like I think if you're kind of maybe playing defenders and you want to go a little bit more of a control aspect, then you have like Spider-Man running around weblining people and kind of displacing them, and also you have Strange displacing a bunch of people. I think that maybe they actually have some okay control options. So, and his power generation gets a little bit more consistent on a strike, turning it into like Mystic or something like that. So, I think I'm going to give him. I'm going to give him a C plus. I think that he's in the highest echelon of C's.
That was
But
such a wet fart, bro. You
no,
literally just hyped him up for like 5 minutes just to be like, he's a C
he's
plus.
a C plus. Well, he does do a lot of good things, but it's just
I thought for sure you were going at least like a B minus.
I toyed around with it a little bit. I think I ended up talking myself into the C plus. He is good, but you're not. I think to your point, like in his own affiliation, he's never a go-to, right?
Yeah.
I don't think you're
And
ever like,
that does take him. For me, that's what took him out of the B range.
yeah,
I don't think you can be a B. Like I think you have to be an auto include in your affiliation to be like that B tier.
yeah. I don't think that he's ever necessarily auto-include. I think it's niche situations. So, it's but it's right there. It's on the cusp of B minus, but I think I have to go C plus for Spider-Man. So we got a B out of Fred, and then I think we're kind of hovering on like a middling C for a majority of the cast, right?
Yeah, it averaged to a C plus minus.
C plus, nice.
Yeah, and I'd like to point out that I don't know dick about fuck when it comes to this game. So
your optimism counteracts my negativism. All right, that's what we got to feed off each other because I always am seeming to be the character who just or the person on this cast that just tears characters down, and everyone else is just like, I mean, I think they're fine. I don't know it.
Well,
I'm happy to build characters up. I want them to be happy.
Yeah, see, we need that because I'm gonna tear them down. I got to tear them down so you can build them up better than they were before.
I think me and Brad are just middling. We're not too positive. We're not too negative. It's kind of in the middle. Isn't that right, Brad?
Sure.
Yeah, there he is. There's my Midland man. Yeah.
Sure.
Listen to him. All right. So kind of sitting on the sea. So if we, at the end of our kind of rating, we like to just give a little bit of a sample roster if you guys are interested in playing Spider-Man and you want maybe just like a starting point in your roster to help get you going to create one that has Spider-Man in it. We're going to offer you a few suggestions. So we'll go ahead and start with you, Fred. What do you got for a roster that has Spider-Man in it?
Okay, so as I stated earlier, I'm not great at this. But I had a plan for him in Avengers. And my thinking here is that it's kind of surprising how power hungry he is. Even though the most expensive thing on his card is 3 cost, he's surprisingly power hungry because he's going to be using Webline probably every turn.
Mm-hmm.
And as I stated earlier, he can do it multiple times to different characters. So the more power you have on him, the better he's going to be. And if you bring him with Steve Rogers, Captain America, that reduces the cost of the first Webline to 1 power. That's pretty affordable for something that you're going to probably be using every turn. So my list here is going to start with Steve Rogers, Captain America, and then, of course, Spider-Man. I'm also going to include Quicksilver, who is an Avenger. I'm going to include Black Widow here, and I'm also going to include Black Cat, who is not an Avenger. And surprisingly, neither is Spider-Man, who I thought was almost certainly an Avenger.
No, yeah,
But
it's very weird that he's not.
Yeah, I think it's right that he's not, because having him with Avengers symbol would just be.
It would be really good.
I would think it'd be very good.
So you guys want a fun fact?
Never
What's
been
that?
an Avenger. Not in the comics.
Yeah, yes. He
Has
absolutely was an Avenger. He joins the Avengers at the same time as Wolverine, because they're the 2 most popular characters from Marvel at the time. And Wolverine is on the Avengers list, and Spider-Man is not.
Yeah. I think, is Spider-Man the only person who's not in Avengers in the core box, who's one of the quote-unquote good guys?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, there's 1 member on each side that's not affiliated with the affiliation in the core box.
I think that they've said that this version of Spider-Man is supposed to be when he's like really younger and just kind of starting up his antics in New York. So
This is Homecoming Spider-Man.
yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what they've said on stream before. Is that was what he was meant to be.
Right.
Amazing Spider-Man should be Avengers affiliated.
That's the one that I think that's if you have a beef with it. That's kind of I was going to get to that. That's the Amazing Spider-Man is the one you should want. That should be, but they got the Doctor Stranges wrong too. So whatever.
Okay,
They did name Doctor Strange wrong.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing: not everything can be Avengers. Like, it would all be Avengers.
Yes, it can. Hush your mouth.
No, I'm with Fred. Like
No,
it
it
drives
can't. Avengers is
it drives
good
me
enough.
crazy that like every other model comes out like, oh, they're an Avenger. It's like cool. Now they've got 72 of the 76 models. Like whatever.
Hey guys, I know that this is going to actually make the cut and people are going to hear this, but I just thought we should get Brian from Journey Through Limbo on for the Doctor Strange episode.
Oh my god, that would be nothing but him just venting.
You should have got him
for
on
an
for
hour.
the Iron Man video.
I should. Yes, we could hear Jeff Bezos looking motherfucker. We love you, Brian. Yeah, getting back to your Avengers roster, Fred. Do you have any other additions? It sounds like you're going like super control and scenario oriented with that kind of starting point there.
Yeah, that's my thought process, and what I just laid out is all the characters that I put out comes out to 16 threat, and that's in some of the bigger games you can fit another model in, which would be you'd be in a pretty good place. It's definitely fighting for control. It's trying to get as many points as possible before your opponent can, and maybe steal some of the objectives away from them if they do get them. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Now, tear my list apart.
I mean, I think it's pretty good. Black Cat being able to do her steal at the start of turn 2 for 2 power is really, really good. I don't know. I think he has a place. Yeah.
Fred, this isn't Journey Through Limbo. We don't tear people's lists apart.
We only build them up, man.
I mean,
I think it'd be all right. I haven't tried them.
The best thing about Avengers is how differently you can play them. Like, I think you can play Avengers any way you want to play the game.
Yeah, 100%. They are the most flexible faction.
All right, well, what do you got, Brandon? What do you got? I know you put together a little bit of a starting core for Spider-Man.
Yeah, so I've actually worked on a list for a while. It's been, honestly, I've probably been working on this off and on for like a year because I do believe there's something here. I call it Web Fenders. So it's a great mashup of like Web Warriors and Defenders because they weirdly have like 4 cross-affiliated characters. And Daredevil, Core Box Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and Moon Knight are all Defenders and Web Warriors. This list doesn't have Amazing in it because I was trying to focus on Core Box, which actually is a lot easier because that extra point on the threat value makes this really good. But so the main thing is the one thing that's probably wrong is Doctor Strange without his stone. The main reason is having a core with Doctor Strange and Spider-Man at 10. I like it better at 9 than I do 10. With that, because it's real hard not to take Ghost Rider, and I'm not going to go on my love tangent of Ghost Rider, but he's real good. But a core of Doctor Strange, Spider-Man core box, Luke Cage, also Defenders affiliated, and then a combination of Black Cat, Ghost Spider, Moon Knight, Spider. I hate that because I have always called her Gwen, and for whatever reason I decided to say that, and then I butcher it like a dumbass. But yeah, the Black Cat, Ghost Spider, Moon Knight, and then Shuri.
Okay.
As some of the other, as just kind of your toolbox kit, you get. So I think you can play, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So at 18, you can play Strange, Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Gwen, Moon Knight, or Black Cat, depending on the extract. If you're playing an extract, you don't need Black Cat. Obviously, you just take Moon Knight, and you can play 18 points. That 18 points has so many pushes and displaces, or even Shuri. If you're playing, say, like Superpower Scoundrels at 20, and say like Hammers at 18 or something, you can play Shuri, and then you just have so many displaces, and pushes and pulls and throws. I think in that core that I list, Doctor Strange has auto pushes, Shuri has auto pushes, Gwen and Peter Parker have pulls that they can pay for. They have pushes on their attacks, Luke Cage has a throw on his attack. Moon Knight on his spender has push. And then Black Cat obviously has like her steals to run around and do her thing. Because she's just really good, and it's hard not to take her sometimes, or kind of ever. The only thing is, it is you kind of play higher point levels. Because you want to kind of play really wide, and you do have some squishier characters. That's why Luke Cage is really important. That bodyguard's super important. I do also have field dressing and med pack as my tactics cards that are restricted. Again, you just want to keep people alive. Doctor Strange's heal is really important. And playing just the big secures and kind of the wide extracts too. It's the spider people and like the hammers. Just playing those and just kind of making sure that people can. It's not spider people. A spider infected. I'm sorry. Don't want to get yelled at by the podcast community there. But just playing these that you have so many points and just being able to steal them, push people off points, and just you can kind of really steal a lot of points. And when you play some of those, I just have so many options after a round or two. If you steal, say 3, if you can steal 3 points a round, you're probably going to win. If you can do that in the first 2 rounds, just in the first, if you can do it in rounds, say 2 and 3, if you can prevent them from scoring 6 points, you probably are going to win that game, or you're probably like me and just not very good at the game.
Oh, yeah, there's some crises, and there's some, scenarios where, like, if you can get a 1-point leverage, like, over a few rounds, you're probably going to win. Like, even if you can get that small lead from the very beginning, so.
Yeah,
Sometimes 8 points doesn't matter, though. You're 8 points ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it goes real wild. And then you also have Ghost Rider in the list, so like if they're like, all right, we're gonna play Demons Downtown, then you can just play Strange and Ghost Rider, and you've got Iron Fist to round out. And then then you have Strange, Ghost Rider, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Spider-Man, Moon Knight, and it's just you're now a very heavy hitting team. This list I really like because it has that variety from real heavy hitting to very controlled, depending on how you want to play.
All right. Well, that's actually pretty neat. So it's like we were kind of talking about earlier. It's a pretty good change up from kind of what you would see on your standard kind of defenders roster. So those are both pretty good lists. Both are kind of a little bit more out of the box from what you normally see Spider-Man in, which is, I mean, you typically only see him in Web Warriors. So give them a try. Try them out in Defenders. I really like that roster. Try them out in Avengers for a little bit more control-oriented Avengers. I feel like you see a lot of beat ass, even with like Steve Rogers. I feel like putting Spider-Man in there really offers a different way to kind of play it. So.
Yeah, I was really excited about that because I did enjoy that. I like seeing those. And then because I actually, while I was doing that, I was looking at the Avengers affiliated models, and there are a lot of really good control models. Like you can really kind of.
Oh yeah, you can really stack the deck in your favor.
Yeah.
All right, well, and then
the 52 affiliated models they have, it's some of them had to be control pieces, right?
We're going a little bit longer on the cast than normal. I think this might be our longest one. So all I'm going to suggest is play them in Web Warriors. Just take every Web Warrior, and that's a good that's no shit though. Just take every character that's listed as a Web Warrior, and that's an excellent place for you to start.
And you will probably win.
Depending on just take the right crises. I guess if I had to offer any kind of suggestions for crisis selection, I would take anything that scores fast. So I would take like Scoundrels. I would take Cubes. I would take, well, maybe not Cubes, because Web Warriors don't necessarily want to eat that damage, although they do enjoy the power generation. But definitely,
it burns them down real quick.
Yeah,
it burns them down.
Infinity formulas instead.
Yeah, I would probably take Infinity Formula. I would take Scoundrels.
Gamma.
I would take Gamma.
Yeah, they're real good at. Well, that's something.
Gamma scores fast.
I know it scores fast, but they don't.
Spider,
they also don't want to be
Parker,
up the gut.
Miles, you just get to play. You get to play all your best characters at 15, right?
I know, but if somebody has
Peter Parker,
super big beat ass, they can be a world of hurt.
Three-pointers.
You said score fast.
I know. I would actually probably take. I would take something D shape like that gives you power, like cosmic. Was it cosmic invasion? Is that the correct way to say it?
Yeah. Also, if you play Gamma and they just put a Hulk on the table, you probably just have all your models like maybe just die.
They can
on,
get
like,
their
turn
ass
one.
kicked on Gamma. I would probably
Yeah,
take like Infinity Scoundrels and the Cosmic Invasion, Black Order Descends. That'll give you some power. A lot of factions hate to play on D shape, and Web Warriors are actually one of the few that love it. So I would recommend those three crises. So at least for secures, and then Spider Infected and any other extracts to kind of score a little bit quicker. I would take. But yeah, just start with every Web Warrior, fast scoring scenarios. There you go. But yeah, moving on into our last section of the podcast, and we'll kind of wrap it up, is some comic suggestions if you want to learn more about Spider-Man Peter Parker. So, Brad, what do you have for us?
I have 3 suggestions about Miles. No, I'm just kidding. I have two things here. So the first one is Amazing Fantasy 15, and then into Amazing Spider-Man 1 and so forth. This is Stanley and Steve Ditko. This is his first appearance and then his first series. Um, I These were some of the first comics I read as a kid because my school library had like they couldn't have been old comics because they were too small, but they had them bound up in like hardback books, and I checked them out and I read them, and it is amazing how quickly they just nail Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Like from the first issue, it's exactly what you expect Peter Parker to be and Spider-Man to be. So much so that the 90s cartoon that a lot of people love, the early seasons of that were pretty much direct adaptations from the comics. Uh, and so, I mean, start at the beginning. It's good. It holds up. The second one is the comic Secret Wars, which, if you have watched that 90s Spider-Man cartoon, I think that was the final season. It might have been the second to last season, was an adaptation of Secret Wars. This is by Jim Shooter, art by Mike Zeck and Bob Layton. So this comic was created to sell toys. Um, and sometimes it feels like some kid just bashing his toys together. It's a little light on the plot, but it's a lot of fun. And it might be the most MCP like experience in the comics.
Oh, okay. Look at that.
Yeah, because it's just a bunch of heroes fighting over stuff. It's also where Spider-Man first gets his black suit, which that was a contest some kid won. They held a contest to design a Spider-Man suit, and that was the winning suit.
This is Brad say that was such disdain. This contest some kid won.
No,
It's because he submitted his own design and it didn't win.
Ah, poor
Yes,
Brad.
I submitted the design before I was born.
Yep.
Makes a lot of sense, Fred.
I mean, if you ever saw Brad, you wouldn't believe that he wasn't born when that happened.
That is true. You
Shade.
look a little seasoned.
Listen, when you start graying in high school, you're gonna go gray.
Got a
That's a
little,
fair
you
point.
got a little salt and pepper going on. That's just the recipe for love, ain't it, Brad? Tell him.
Sure.
Tell him.
I mean,
So those are my
Hey.
recommendations.
He's like
Early-
anything to get me out of this conversation where it's headed.
Early Spider-Man. I'll have plenty of more Spider-Man recommendations as we go through his rogues gallery in this game.
Yep. All right. Well, I think that just about wraps us up for this week. Thank you guys so much for joining us. make sure that if you're listening to this on YouTube, that you check us out on Spotify or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. We're on there. And if you're listening to this on Spotify or Google Podcasts or something, check out our YouTube channel. We have quite a few games posted. We try to post them weekly when life permits it. So, yeah, we get weekly games posted up, and give us a like and a subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Take care.
Good gaming.
Thanks a lot, Jared.
Have
Have
good
fun out
gaming.
there, everyone.